What in God's name is that from Thorin?
As you say, basically, some of the people like Marstenook, eventually Fair, the ones who were in Rival, eventually when that team broke up, they made the Pandemic team. Mm-hmm. And when they were, when you were still in Green Berets and you went the next year to that Summer CPL, the one that was in the Gaylord again, the ISC or whatever, Intel Super Cup or whatever the fuck it was called, Summer Championship or whatever it was. This is the one where you played Pandemic in like a mega OT game. And since at the time, as you say, Green Berets was just an invite team. They weren't a team that was going to make the playoffs or win, right? You had this mega close game against Pandemic. You told the story here about the Corky thing, but I noticed it's only a few months later you're in Pandemic. So was that just coincidence? Did you catch their eye, do you think?
Well, it depends on who you ask, but like, yeah, when you get beat by someone, you pay attention. And when Pandemic was they were looking for a player, and they remembered and so one of my benefits was I was the in-game leader. I was an opper, but I was also I was also like a top rifler as well. I could do it all. And Pandemic at the time, so when I was on GB, I did a little bit of everything. Ted was like the primary opper, but I was always an opper and I did whatever I watched demos and I did whatever I had to do to beat the person I was going against, or like whatever the team was trying to do against me. I did whatever I had to do I studied. I barely played the game. The truth is I barely played the game. I spent most of my time studying the game. And so when Pandemic needed an opper, they need a sole opper. Right. And they came to me like, hey, do you want to be the sole opper of the team? And it's obviously when I had the injury, I'm like, sure. Like, why? Like, yeah, let's do it. Because at the time, they were like the third best team in North America. Yeah. I'm like, sure. And they thought that I could take them over the hump of the other team. So I said, sure. And I joined them. And that training was like, compared to what James would do with me, Masnook was like another version of it where he didn't necessarily teach me like how to play the game, nothing like that. What he did was he beat me into submission of confidence, where no matter what round it was, they gave me an op. You know what I mean? They expected me to win them the round. They would have pistols and they just kept dropping me weapons. And I'm like, dude, like we don't have money to do it. It's like, nope, don't care. Here's the op, win me the round. And I'm like, and then I would have to come up with like, what am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to push catwalk on Dusty, and like I'm going to try to win this round. But he would make me go all around the map. I'd go long and Dusty first. Did it come? Nope. Fuck it. Back to middle. I go to B. Like he would make me try to just like dominate the game, and that instilled. So James taught me a lot about how to play the game in his eyes, and like what his theories were, and then Mark instilled he ran the confidence in me. I was already confident, but he forced it even further on me to like, you better do this or we're going to lose. It
was also kind of a thing, if people don't know, that's actually one thing I did fuck with the West Coast teams. Even though they talked a lot of shit, the point was they could back it up. Like, they were the guys, by the way, who really thought if we have the right team, we can beat the European teams. Like, and Marstenook especially.
They were so confident.
Like this. Basically, a few years ago, I actually did one of these with Marstenook, right? And the reason I did it is because in the meantime, right at the end of when people used ESEA and it had that like messaging service, he one time saw like an article or something I'd written or something, and he basically got super mad because when I wrote about his team, I just like bigged up some of the other players. I didn't really mention him that much. And he was telling me, you don't know what I was like. I was actually one of the top players. Like, they used to have to ban me from SoCal lands. Like, I used to win them all, And dude, he had like he had an ego, but like in a way where like it wasn't unjustified.
Dude, it was an experience because they were rival. You know what I mean? Like, obviously not Sunny or but like they were so cocky to the point they were cocky, but like it was a fun arrogance and confidence that I never got to. I always kept it inside. Right. I never told anyone they were bad. I never did that. But in my head though, I'm like, I'm way better than you. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. But I never said it out loud. And these guys, they made you like, they forced it out of you. And this is when like, again, they'll hate me if they watch this. I'm going to get a DM, I promise you. But like Mark and like Johnny, like Fear, and like they were, I'm going to take so much shit for this. They were they were ending.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like
they'd see the best days.
They were still like they're still top 3 team, but like they were on their downswing.
Right.
And I was like rapidly ascending, and they even if he doesn't admit it, I'm pretty sure he believes that. But like he would still beat up people today, like if he wanted to play. But like they were so confident that it was fascinating. Well, we had a strat that I can't remember what it was called. It was called lasers, I think it was called, where we were so confident that we would buy, if we got 2 kills, if 2 people on pistol got 2 kills and we lost a round, I think you had enough to buy a FAMAS. And we would buy the FAMAS, and they would buy armor. So we drop, and those 2 people, their job was then to win us the round. And like they like, we don't care money. I don't care about the economy. We're gonna try to turn this around right now, and if we lose it, then we'll save and whatever. And we found a lot of success with doing that kind of strategy because we just practiced it. And we played on custom map server. I can't remember what it was, where it was train. We did a lot in train, where it was outside 2v2 FAMAS only, FAMAS only, until we got so good with the FAMAS that we were confident that we could beat anyone. And when we played solo, hacker, was it hacker?
Oh yeah, the Koreans ones, you mean?
I can't remember which one it was, but like one of the Korean ones in New York on LAN, we did that the second round, we won, and we turned it all around.
Right.
And we won the game.
Right.
And it was like, it paid off, right? And they were very confident. It was definitely a fun team to be around, where when we played I've never been on a team when we played 3D or complexity that they felt like they were nothing. Right. Like, these teams are crap. Who gives a shit? And we beat them online. We beat.
You won a CPL season.
Yep.
Yeah. I had to 3D call all these massive teams, right?
Yep. I remember I destroyed both of them online for CEVO. But then when we got to LAN, we played them on LAN on train, and it was a different 3D.
Fair enough.
It was 3D where like they were either gonna be brutal or they were gonna show up. And they showed up, and we lost like 13-9 or 13-10 or whatever. And it was a fun game because like I remember the pressure it was when we were like, not like pressure to win, but like when you were covering a spot, they didn't give anything easy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when they were coming at you, you're like, oh shit, here they come. You know what I mean? Like it was fun. But yeah, pandemic was a wild one. That was instilled a lot of confidence. Where when I was done with that team, that was when I officially was like, I felt I was better than everyone in North America at that point. Was like when I left that team, went to EG, I'm like, for the kids nowadays, I'm him.
Yeah.
Like that was a thought I had when I was like, EG wants me, and they're bringing Shag and Trip over, and we're gonna join EG, and then I'm gonna lead them too. Like it was like, I was like the person that was like,
sure.
Pandemic made me feel that way. So again, kind of like we said, like the step of the ladder, like. That was a big leap that happened for me, at least.
When you were in this pandemic team, one of the lands you went to was the WSVG in New York. And if people don't know, this was the finals. You actually had to come through other tournaments. They'd already played in like the summer ones, and there was European ones and stuff. And basically, the reason you had to qualify was this was the one that had like mega prize money. I think the first was like 50K or something insane. It was the one where you got like a Rolex as well as something fucking mental if you won. So all the teams were going hard for this. And actually, one result you had at that one was you beat NiP and smashed them. When NiP, by the way, was probably the team of the year. They were like, in Europe, they used to just win tournaments for fun. And that was the one with like Zet and fucking SpawN. Like, by the way, the legendary names like the craziest net Valley, all those guys. Like, this must have been a banger game in New York, especially of all places to do it. That's pretty sick.
Oh yeah, it was. It was like an advanced stage too. It was like a nice fancy stage with like Alienware laptops and stuff that we were using. But yeah, we beat NiP 13-1 or whatever.
It's massive, yeah.
And yeah, I remember we just dumpstered them, and to the point where when we were shaking hands, SpawN wouldn't shake my hand.
which in a way is a compliment when you look back too, right?
Yeah.
He's obviously that pissed. Yeah.
He pissed me off because he said, "Oh, static."
Oh, right, as an excuse, right?
I'm like, "Fuck you! I like your brother more." So that I remember that pissed me off. But yeah, that was a fun tournament because we beat them, we lost to 3D, and then we got destroyed by Fnatic. I think.
Yes, Fnatic was. This is when it's like Forest again, like fucking DSN, all those guys. Yeah.
I don't remember a lot of individual matches, but that was one I remember vividly because was it Fnatic or was that?
Yeah, it was Fnatic.
Was it Neo?
Fnatic.
Oh, so Neo was the other one.
Neo was later, yeah.
Yeah, so when we played Fnatic, I remember that one because that was when I fully understood the depth of how much better they were,
right?
And how much of like because I remember every corner we turned, we just got instantly killed.
Right.
And the thing about Fnatic that was scary was, even though Forrest was like the best player, you know, it was, you never thought about just Forrest. You're like, damn, all these guys, you know what I mean? Like, I believe in that game, Karn destroyed us.
Right.
And DSN. I think it was Karn, DSN? Yeah, DSN? Yeah, Karn, DSN, they destroyed us.
Right.
And I remember we unfortunately had to play fucking, this is what always pissed me off about playing the Europeans. I always played them on the T-side train, T-side cobble,
the nightmare side,
T-side nuke,
right.
because they had the higher seed. They were the better team. I never got to play them. The only one was like the team on Inferno. I think we started T-side there, but like T-side Inferno, like you can deal with it. But like when we played on T-side nuke, it's like, damn it. And you know, we would go ramp, dead. Go inside, dead. Everything we did, we did. We had all these strats that we were really good at that worked all the time. We played them in practice on LAN, like in the practice rooms. Every game was close. But then when it got to that game, they just beat us down. And I remember I think they 12-0'd us. And then we won CT pistol, and then it ecoed us.
Okay.
They rushed doors, they rushed squeaky, and they just beat us. And I'm like, fuck. It's like, what can we do? But yeah, they were. I remember that game. Like, again, I don't remember a lot of them, but that one I remember vividly.
I mean, as you say, after this was when the CPL Winter was, and that was the one where you lost to Pentagram, which was Neo's team. And by the way, this is why it's actually quite cool also, even when you're losing, to ask about these things, because this is like Neo and Forest when they're like becoming, like, they are like the fucking Conor McDavid in the NHL. You know that they were if you play them, you know they're the best, right, when you play them.
Mm-hmm. We knew what we were going up against when we played Neo. Well, just their team. Like, again, Neo was the best player, but like their team was like, it didn't matter if you went against Kuban or it doesn't matter. They were a problem, and we played them on train, and I think we had T-side train again, but I think we got a couple rounds on it. I think we got something. Did we? I don't know. If you looked it up, did we get 2 rounds? Did we get?
I didn't see what the score was. It just said it was a 2-0 because it was a best of 3 on this one instead of a Bayo 1.
Oh, I only remember train.
Right. Okay.
I just remember playing them, and it was like a privilege. It felt like a privilege. And yeah, they beat us up pretty good, and it was a privilege, and it was like, and whenever you lost to them, you would go back home being like, all right, you're now another level.
Yeah. Like,
now I'm going to go play fucking DeadZone or all these other people. I'm like, you guys are nothing.
Exactly. Yes.
And you know what I mean? And I would just feel like, I'm like, this is like chopped liver, right? So every time I played Europeans, I felt I got better to, like, when we went back online and played Complexity or, you know, and play fRoD, I'm like, like, even though fRoD was like, you know, fRoD and Complexity was the best team.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, they were the best. Like, it was like, even when Complexity was like the team that won every event for like a year, like they were like the best team, never had a thought in my mind that they were a problem.
Right.
The Europeans scared the shit out of me.
Sure.
But like, yeah, like Complexity, I'd pay attention to, the only things I would pay attention to with Complexity was, where's fRoD and where's Storm hiding?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, Storm, is he in his damn spot in Inferno in the pit? Is he just chilling there and you can't do anything about it? Like, they're the only 2 players I was like, all right, where are these guys, right? Because, like, again, wasn't afraid of them, but I was like, I had to be aware of it because with fRoD, I'm opping against him.
Yeah.
And me and him had wildly different styles. So like I'm like, all right, and he always hated the way I
give me some thoughts like on fRoD, for example, because the problem he has now is he still has the exact same persona and confidence as when he was a pro player, but he forgets.
Oh yeah,
it's like
that's fRoD, man.
It's like 18 years later, mate. Like, unfortunately, these kids don't remember, so they're going to think like, because maybe they remember him like when he did the CS:GO comeback. They're going to go, oh, you're not that good. Like, he was fucking phenomenally good, right?
Yes, yeah, he was the best opera in the world at the time. Like, it was when. So with him, it was like, I just remember like his statistics were always so crazy because the thing with him was, if you were like a top, like a 4th and below team, like those teams could never do anything against Complexity because they could never get past the first wave, which was fRoD. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what they're doing as a team, fRoD was out front. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you had to get past him, if you couldn't get past him or push him back, you're done. And he was a problem, and that's why 3D always had a problem with him, because like 3D was like kind of erratic, and they weren't like, Ron was obviously a great game leader, but they weren't very set.
No.
Right, and when you played Complexity, if you weren't set, they would fRoD would pick you apart because you're being sloppy. You know, Shag is being Shag, where he's just like the king of the world, like peeking without a flash, and just like you're gonna get destroyed. So Complexity always had a problem with. Sorry, the 3D always had a problem with them, but like you had to play a certain way against Complexity in order to have a chance. But if you didn't play pristine, against Complexity, it was a slaughter. So Complexity was insane. Trip was, in my mind, like I don't like. I would love if you have a difference of opinion, because I got to play with them as well. But, so again, I didn't get to play with all the in-game leaders, but he was the best in-game leader in North America.
Oh, he's very smart. Like if people don't know, he literally just after that became like a poker grinder and just won loads of money playing poker. So he obviously has a mega mind. Yeah. Yeah,
like he was the best in-game leader, and he was so precise about every step that you took, about everything, to like where like to the level of like no one knew what to do against it, because like you would try to counter them and you're like, how do you counter this? Like he's like, if you're playing catwalk, he's going to flash every single part slowly and meticulously, like where it pushes you back, and then it just becomes an aim battle, and you're playing against players that are superior against you in aim, right? Against the vast majority of teams. So that team was really tough to play against. I thought 3D was the easiest team to play against. I loved playing against them. If I go back to the Wayback Machine, I look up stats, I'm pretty sure I killed them every time, because like they were just so sloppy. And I preyed on that because I watched demos. And I remember like my favorite thing, I told Griff this, and he told me how pissed he was. It was in the CVOP Championship where we're on CT side Dust 2. Griff would always op down middle and watch the tunnel, right?
The low B, yeah.
I never did this again. It was only for this one match. I would run through double doors knowing that I wasn't going to get opped. I had no threat in the world. I pre-aimed up, peeked in to where he would see me in the tunnel looking up at him, killed him twice doing that. And then it gifted us around on CT side Dust 2. And that's the only time I ever did that. And it was because I watched demos and we beat them, and because they were too predictable.
By the way, one of the things you're talking about, though, even the other teams actually out there, a lot of them, even the ones who were tactical, just did their tactics. Actually, to watch, like, basically me and you apparently were the only ones on fucking call, got Frank demo section. If you actually did go and watch and sort of scout like a sports person would, you could tear these teams apart, like you're saying, because actually people had tendencies they didn't know. You could just see it in the demo, right?
That's all it was. That's all I did. That's one thing, James. I did it myself, but then James helped take that to another level where, like, I didn't go into a match where I didn't know exactly what you were going to do or your tendencies, because I wanted to win. So, like, I'm like, if you're going to do this stupid thing, and also I had this benefit because, again, I was the in-game leader, I was the opera, I could do rifling. I knew what these guys are doing, so like, I'm going to go there. I'm going to meet them. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to, like, all right, they're going to do this stupid sloppy rush at long A. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to slowly, you know, fRoD mentioned this to me one time. You might not remember this, but he said I was really annoying to play against because I was very Stevenson-esque, where I would go up, play aggressive, and then fall back. I wouldn't keep repeaking. I would never give myself up. I would just fall back to where if you wanted to kill me, you had to work for it. And fRoD hated that because all these people would try to fucking play against fRoD and try to outpeak him.
Of course.
You weren't going to beat that. So, like, they kept trying to do that, and he would just destroy them. So it was just fascinating watching these teams try to do their own. I had to make strats for just complexity.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I was like, my shit isn't going to work against them. So I'm like, where are they weak? Like, I would watch the demo. I'm like, all right, where can I think I can abuse them? Do you know what I mean? And you just do your best to try to do that. And sometimes you'd win. Again, I won a few times against them online, but like on LAN, it was tough. I played them in New York one time on LAN, and it was hard to stop, man. They were just a well-oiled machine. And then their downfall happened when they kicked Justin out. And when they kicked Justin out, like, why are you ruining your shit? You know what I mean? And they brought in Exodus, who again was a good player, rival, but like it just wasn't the same. And then they brought Justin back and they started winning again. So it's like, you know, it's like sometimes don't mess with your shit just because you get bored.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But they were a phenomenal team. And fRoD was so cocky, rightfully so. He was the best player in North America. Like, he was rightfully so. And yeah, that's just his personality, even now when he's coaching. Right? Like, he's very confident in his skills. And I was too, but I never said it. So, but he's always fun to play. I personally loved players like Mikey, like Method, because when I played,
Those are silent killers,
with him,
right?
yeah, he didn't say shit.
Yes.
He was you just knew him to be a problem.
Yes.
And you're like, oh shit, it's Method. Like, he's there somewhere. So he was like a silent killer, but I played with him on a team like near the end of my career where like I got to truly appreciate him as a player. Where like just his calmness, like never stressed. Just I loved playing with him when I got the chance.
Right. One thing that's a bit strange, if I'll set it up, is when you joined EG, which obviously in this story is a big deal. That's another like checkbox. You want to be on EG, the big professional team that's in law. The problem was basically it was when the transition to Source came and then that core just went and you basically became the Chicago Chimera, which look, we'll get to. You had all the success in Source. But I always thought to myself, you were one of the few people where it's actually you've got a what if in 1.6, which is what if actually it was just 1.6 for NA and it hadn't have gone to Source? Because you were right at the time where like we're thinking you could have played with Jaguar. Now it's finally time where you might want to be in the team with you, and you could have been in the EG team, and you could have sort of had the dream to see what are the heights of this thing, right?
Yeah, we were not happy because the reason why because Pandemic offered me to stay, right? But they were gonna go. I can't. Oh my god, I could completely get this wrong. I think they were going complete Source.
Right, could be.
I think they were dedicating Source.
I think they had the Source team after that, so yeah.
Yeah, for CGS, I think they were going to dedicate towards CGS and Source. I didn't want to. I'm saying this, it could be the opposite.
No, I think this makes sense. I think initially you were trying to make a 1.6 team, and then everyone just went to Source anyway because the scene was dead or something, right?
So yeah, when we did like the what we called it a super team. Yeah, because we got Trip from Complexity, which we felt crippled them. We got Griff from 3D, which we felt crippled them. And then we got me from Pandemic, which we felt crippled them. And then we had Stevenson, who was just like, you knew what you got with Stevenson. And then Pasha and Laurie was just like, I never had to worry about him. He did his job. We always called him reliable. Right? He didn't win you the game, but he didn't lose you the game. He did his job. And we felt we had a perfectly mixed team, and we tried to juggle. But we practiced half the time in 1.6 and half the time in Source, and then when, and then it got to a point where DKT Brian told us like, hey, if you guys fucking just play Source, I will draft you.
Right.
Like, into the CGS.
I mean, if people don't know, him and Jaguar were friends, so I know there was like a connection there or something, right?
Yeah, but there's actually there's another story way behind us that was never said publicly. People know about that I talked to, but. DKT before I get to that, DKT said, if you just play Source, I'll draft you as long as you don't suck at the combine. Right. And so we went to I remember we went to a Source LAN and we got dominated because we were like, what the fuck is this game? Right. we were trying to play it, we just couldn't. We hated it. The second one we went to, we got second place. We lost to Pandemic, their team, in the finals, and then we went to the combine and it was looking rough, and then. I want to say I carried them to we got to the finals. We ended up going to the finals, losing to 3D, but we did enough for Brian to be like, all right, we're drafting you. I'm like, okay. Like it was a lot of stress. Like if you didn't have that, then what did you have at the time, right? It was nothing. So Brian, like he politics, right? I benefited from it. He told us before even playing, like, well, I'll take you if you just don't mess up. But then before that though, with the EG thing though, when I joined EG. It was temporary. I never said this publicly. It was temporary. Because Black Panther was in school. Okay. So I was coming in and I led the team and all that stuff, and Black Panther was going to come back in 3 months. And I deviously was like, I'm never letting this guy get his job back. So I joined EG with Alex Garfield and them, right? And the whole plan was when Black Panther's done school, he's coming back and you're off the team. I'm like, cool, no problem. Understood. And then I made myself invaluable by being the leader, by being like the primary operator. It wasn't Shaggy or Stevenson, it was me. I was the fragger. I was like the person, right? And when we did that, and we were very successful. Like even though there wasn't like much matches, we were kicking teams' asses in scrims. To the point where our team, when it came time for Black Panther to come back, and even Stevenson and Pasha, who have been friends with him for fucking years, close friends. They said we will refuse to play for you if you kick Garett off the team. And so Alex Garfield was forced to keep me on the team. And so that's how all that happened. Now Stevenson and a lot of CS players, they would have just said fuck him,
of course.
I'm not going to mess with my thing.
Yeah.
But to Stevenson and Pasha, and they were very much we're sticking together with this, even though they screwed over Black Panther, but his focus wasn't on the game.
Yes.
So they said, and even for me, Trip and Shag to come on the team, and they had to remove their other teammates, that hurt them because they're together for so long, that was their buddies.
Yeah.
So when they made that decision, they made it this is a competitive decision. We're not, if you bring him back, we're not playing for you. And they had a Garfield held strong on it for a bit, and then eventually I don't know how exactly, but he caved, however you want to say it. He said, all right, fine, you can stay. And then we moved on to the DKT stuff, and we joined CGS. But it was, we were always upset that we never got to see ourselves play as a team in 1.6. Because when CGS died, the first thing we all did was are we going to do this? We're going to go back and play 1.6? But Stevenson and them, they were done.
Right.
So I was like, damn it.
By the way, tell me what Stevenson, because if people don't know, the reason why he was also very, very popular, I mean, not he was one of the best Canadian players, but obviously he famously did on the EG team. If people don't know, they were all I'd say medium invite players except him. He actually was legit star talent. And I've been told by the people, I was friends with the people in 3D and Call, they told me we asked this fucker a million times. He just never would join. They tried every start. That's why actually it's kind of wild that at the end there, he was trying to sort of maybe I do the step up and I give it a try, right? Because so it wasn't just that he was good on a bad team. He could have actually just been on the teams that won the tournament. So give me some thoughts on this guy.
They wanted him so much. For years, they wanted him, but he was so loyal.
Yes.
EG was, so again, if we go back to the Canadian thing, when you were thinking about goals, I never had goals to join the 3D or complexity or stuff. My one goal was I had two goals. No. Yeah, two goals. I wanted to join EG, and I wanted to represent Canada at WCG.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That was the two things I wanted to do, okay? But then I knew I couldn't do there by staying in the scene, so I went the long way around, right? But Stevenson was... He was a hybrid. He was opping most of the time, but he was a hybrid, so he was good with any weapon, so you could put him in any situation. He was cool, calm, and collected. He wasn't loud. He wasn't.
He never talked, right?
He was very. No, he talked outside of the game.
Right.
But
okay.
In the game, you would get hyped up when you went around. You would get rowdy. He got rowdy with us. I don't know if he did with the other EG teams, but he got rowdy with us because we had Shag. Right. I was loud. Shag was loud. Pasha was loud. Corey and Stevenson. Trip and Stevenson, they're quiet. They're gonna jump in. They have no choice. They gotta jump in. But he was so good that 3D and Complexity wanted him consistently. They offered him more money, if I remember correctly, than any other players that they had, several times, and he never took it.
It's wild, isn't it?
He never took it. But caveat, he did make EG up what they paid him every time.
Right, that's clever.
Still not enough. I don't think
it wouldn't have been as much. I don't think
they didn't match it, but they made him pay more. So when I joined EG, and I was getting paid $900 a month, which to me I was fucking rich, right? Shagging him, I'm not stupid. I don't know what they were getting, but I get it. But I think Stevenson at the time was getting $2,500.
Okay, that's
and
legit,
that was that was a lot of money.
Yeah,
that was a lot of money. But I'm pretty sure 3D and them, they offered him again, they can refute this. Bear with me, $3-4 grand minimum to play. They offered him up, and he wouldn't do it. Right. He stayed with Pasha. He stayed with his buddy, and it was, it was one of the things I loved about him. But then, when obviously the team ended up breaking up down the road, but he was just solid. That's why I love that team when we made it, and I'm sad that we never got to see it actually work out. Or what we could have done is because Trip was solid, Stevenson was solid, Paj was solid. I was myself when I was at the time, and then Shag was the wild card, where he could carry you or he could be a complete detriment to your team. But he was Shag. He had that when you played and you had him on your team, you knew this is fucking real, right? And I'm just gonna bring up this other story because I remember because I was like the new buddy. I was the rookie, right? Even like I was the rookie every team I joined technically, right? I was always, no matter how old I was like the baby face, right? But when I took over that team, because when we made that team, Tripp told me, because he started leaving for a little bit, but then he told me, like, because he knew I led too, and he watched me do it. He's like, yeah, I want you to lead. You're good at it. I want to frag. And I'm like, cool, no problem. And then my own mind, I was like, I have all these toys. You know what I mean? I have all these like weapons to play with, right? So I'm like, this is awesome. And I remember Shag was being a diva. And he knows this. He was being a diva in one of the scrims that we were playing, where he was just being like, I'm gonna do what I want or whatever, you know what I mean, like his own thing. Because he was like, this is Garett talking, like I'm just some rookie player. And I remember I got livid, and I told him, I'm not sure if you put this on YouTube. I'm trying not to swear too much.
No, don't worry about that.
I just told him I'm like, Shag, I don't give a fuck who you are. You shut the fuck up. You listen to my fucking strats, and if you don't, I'll kick you off this fucking team. And I said that as GRT to Shagwire, right? And I was like, and I said that, and I remember I was shaking. I was like, oh my God, I just said that to Shag. Like, I could get kicked off this team in fucking a week. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is not when I was like secure. This is when I first joined. And I said that to him, and then that earned his respect because Shag's twisted. Like, you know, he earned his respect, and he listened from then on. But like, I loved that team. I miss that team so much. It was the most fun I've ever had on a team. Even if we were playing Source, that was the only team I was on that we felt like truly a family. And it was like, you know, we talk about CGS and all stuff, but like it was, even to this day, like you know, one of the things that breaks my heart even to this day, that like Stevenson, when he was done with Counter-Strike, off the grid.
Yeah.
Doesn't talk to even Pasha, like Laurie anymore, his friend. We don't know where he is. You know, we don't know where he is. I wish he would still talk to us.
Put it this way, he's one of even the people where I try finding people on Facebook. You can't even find him.
I don't know.
He's gone.
I don't know where he is. And it's so sad because we were such close friends during the CGS in our time. Right. And then Pasha's around. I can talk to him. Griff's obviously doing the poker thing. You know, he's too busy with that. We don't talk as much anymore. Corey, obviously, he's like fucking like just, again, poker and just making money. He just makes, he's doing his thing. But I miss those guys when that ended. So that was a sad time when CGS ended, all that ended, which was like, fuck. But yeah.
Right. I don't know what you could say about this, so I'll just phrase it in a very open-ended way. When it came to being in CGS, obviously you and Chaga are from Canada, and the event took place in LA.
Oh, that.
Wasn't there something where basically, I actually know the story and it's mental, but I'll just leave it wide open. You could decide what you want to say.
I'm kind of curious which story you know, because I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. This isn't obvious. Technically, I could take this out if it's too much, but basically I heard a story.
You can say it because, just so you know, legally, there's nothing wrong.
Right. Okay. Well, basically,
I can tell you what happened. Right. To fix it, and you're. Oh,
yeah. So basically, what I heard was like, the problem is, right, back in the day anyway, technically all of us, by the way, like even if I was going to an event in America, technically, like, and in theory, I probably shouldn't actually be going and say I'm on a tourist visa. I should probably say, actually, I'm working and I'm a journalist. But like, obviously, I was amateur back then, But technically back then, what you would obviously say if you went to customs was, I'm there on pleasure, and I'm going for a holiday or whatever. And your problem was, because you were going in this way, I've heard it was something like, the guy at the border thing was just like, yeah, wait there a second. And then he Googled Jaguar or something mental and was like, wait a minute, they're going to like an event in LA, and obviously in that scenario, especially Canada and America, you need a work visa for that. So I heard basically it was something mental like this. Let's see if my memory is good enough.
You're really there.
Maybe this next part is bullshit. But then I heard that you guys did.
Oh, the next part.
I heard you got turned away, and then that you guys were just like, fuck it, and they just tried to like drive over or something, and they were like, whoa, and they were just like, you can't come in for like 6 or something mad, lad. Didn't you have to wait till like the season finals or something? Is this true?
Okay, I want to say like 85% of it.
Okay.
So
this was the rumor, at least in CGS, put it that way.
Yeah. So CGS, and this is why it made me so livid. When we got drafted, we had a big meeting with all the teams and all the executives and all that stuff, and I asked them in that meeting, do we need a visa to do this because we're Canadian? Right. They said, no, we haven't. It's been taken care of. And then me being an idiot. Okay, this is when you're like green. You don't know any of this shit. This is back in the day when half the time you only need a fucking driver's license across the border. Yeah. You need a passport. But like, I just listened to them and I just like, okay, right. But I still, and this is common knowledge, okay? Like I don't give like there's nothing's gonna happen from this, but like when you cross the border, you always say you're going to visit friends, you're going
right, okay.
or you can say you're going to compete in a tournament, but you never say you're getting paid.
No, sure.
Right? So at the time, like the only time I got paid was with EG, right? I didn't get paid, so it wasn't a problem. But then so I told him I was going to LA for a few weeks. I had luggage wallet. They asked me how much cash I had on me. I told them, and I had no problem. It was fucking Griffin.
There we go.
Griffin told him we were going to work.
Oh, right. He fucked it up immediately. Right. Yeah, okay.
And then we went to secondary inspection. And then I'm like, so I'm still confused because I'm like, but we don't need a visa because they say we don't need a visa. So I'm like, so we're talking to him in secondary inspection. And because Griffin said they're going to work. And I'm like, I just said, I can't remember what I said. I was either going for a vacation or I was going for a gaming event. I didn't say anything about work.
Okay.
But then we were in a secondary inspection, and the guy, so we tell him, like, dude, we're going here to X amount of months. We're just playing the competition, so on and so forth. And then he's like, what's the name of it? And I told him the name of it. And then what happened was he Googled it. And then on the front page of the website was, I can't remember what it said, but like it basically said, CGS Game Championships, whatever, like, top players from around North America coming here to be paid to play.
That's
you know what I mean? Like
right,
they're getting paid.
Right.
They're getting paid to play.
Right.
And I'm like, wait. So the guy's like, I remember he turned the monitor around and showed me. He's like, you mean this? I'm like, yep.
Just done at that point.
And then at that point, I'm like, okay, this is an actual problem now. Like, like we did something wrong. Like at the time, at the time I still didn't think we did anything wrong because the guy told me we didn't need a visa. But then the guy then told us, like, dude, you're coming over, you're being paid, you need a work visa. And we're like, but they said we didn't need one. and he's like, no, you need one. I'm like, fuck. So what we did was we left, and then I can't remember what happened. We told the CGS people, and they made calls or whatever. We went back the next day, and they said, no, you can't get on the flight. Get the fuck out of here. And then we knew officially we were cooked.
Right.
And then so what happened was what we did was, and this is what, like, this is where we get like stupid, but like we months down the road, like we let, we didn't play in the season, and the finals came around. Brian's like, can you come back? And we're like, I don't know. And I'm like, can we just go to the event and play? So me and Griff were like, do you want to try? Like sure. And so what we did was we drove to the border. And we were like, all right, okay, I don't want to tell them about the gaming shit anymore because, I don't want to tell them we're going to play an event and they're going to think we're being paid. I just said, like, well, because our idea was we're just going to go play in the event.
Right.
So I'm like, we can't say that because in the back end was like, if we say that, they're going to see like we already got barred from this, and they're going to think we're going to work. And I'm like, okay, so let's just go to the casino.
Oh, that's a good angle. Yes.
So we took a bus. We didn't drive. I lied. We took a bus because the buses are way more lenient on how quick they are. So we went on the bus and we went by, and the guy's like, hey, what happened here? Like, hey, we were gonna go do the work thing. We're not gonna work, whatever. We're going to the casino, and we had to do some conversation. He let us through. We went to the casino, and then we flew to fucking LA, and we played in the event. And then then over time, and every time for years after that, when I went to talk to the border for anything, if I was crossing to go to get food, what happened?
Every time.
And I explained to them what happened and so on and so forth, and then they always let me in.
Right.
They always let me in, but it was always a hassle. And then what I found out later was when I was applying for the police, I had to do it. I had to get my story straight of what the hell happened. So I went to the border and not the border, the customs in Toronto. I went to the people in the back. I'm like, hey, I need to talk to an officer. Can you guys tell me everything you have on me in your system? Because I'm applying with the police. I need to know the dates, what happened, and so on. I need to know what happened. And the reason why I had to do that in the first place was because when I was playing for Canada and WCG, on the flight back, I was landing in Atlanta for a layover. The guy escorted me with the police. They banned me again. They said, you should have never been allowed back in the U.S. I'm like, dude, I've been coming in and out for like fucking years now. What do you mean? He's like, you should have never been allowed back. You're now barred again. You got to do this stack of information, blah, 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 and like an $1,000 fee to do it. And we're not guaranteeing you anything. And that was when I was like, I'm done gaming. I'm like, if I can't play in events in like in the U.S., what am I supposed to do here?
Yeah.
So, but then because all that happened, I was barred again. Didn't go back to the U.S. for years, and until I do this custom thing. And then when I talk to the guy, I'm like, all right, what happened here? What happened in Atlanta? The dates and so on. He's like, dude, there is nothing about you in the system.
Oh, it just went away.
And I'm like, what do you mean?
Right.
I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, it's like after a certain amount of years, the flight, the first thing would be like, it's there, but like it's like they don't consider it anymore.
Right.
But then the Atlanta thing was never input in the system.
Oh.
The guy was just being a dick.
Right.
So he barred me.
You just got the wrong guy, basically. Right.
He barred me. I had to get escorted on the flight by the police. It was fucking embarrassing. And when I checked the records, nothing there. He showed me the monitor. Nothing about Atlanta, dude. And I'm like, dude, I got escorted. Like, there's nothing. He's like, nope. It sounds like you had an asshole.
Oh.
I'm like, so all this time I could have went back, and I
yeah.
So that's the whole
saga,
story,
isn't it?
like summed up.
By the way, though, it has a happy ending in a sense that when you did go to CGS, you guys won the CGS, which was like the insane prize. But now it is true. Obviously, it was that weird format where all the games have to win. And I know actually, this is what's funny. I actually did a little bit of work for that franchise with DKT because I knew him from Quake, etc. when he first formed it. And I have to tell you this, right? This is not bullshit. Literally, DKT told me when he first made the team and was drafting people, I'm going to win CGS. And I was like, well, obviously,
he's confident too,
no, but
man.
here's the thing. I said, obviously, everyone's going to say it. And he said, no, I've actually figured out what the other teams didn't, which is he said, if you look at how the franchise system works, the scoring for certain games, like the driving one, etc., is way better. And so he said, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to draft the best driving guy. And basically, that guy was like the carry, wasn't he? Just like won every fucking race. So basically, like, he was actually right. So what was it like for your team? Because what it meant for your team was you didn't actually always have to win the CS match, right? You just had to get a certain amount of rounds, basically, or something.
Yeah, like it was. So I always like to make jokes like, "Hey, I'm a world champion," right? But in the back of my head, I'm like, "It's fucking full of shit."
Sure,
like, it's not real. But I get to tell people I'm a world champion.
True.
Like, I'm a world champion who lost our match.
Right.
Like, it's so stupid. But Brian was smarter than all the other people. All the other people drafted.
Lots of them did CS teams, etc. Yeah, they just drafted their CS team.
They had allegiances.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Jason's smart. But Jason had his team. Of course, he's going to draft his baby. It's his baby.
Yeah.
You know, like Catherine, not Cat. Oh my God, what's her name?
Something like that. It was like the OpDex girl woman.
Was it Cat?
I think it was. Whoever it was, the one who did the San Francisco OpDex, she got the Source team, obviously, like the more and all them, yeah?
I hope she doesn't watch this. I think it's Cat. She drafted.
Yeah, I think she was called Cat Hunter or something, wasn't it? What did she call that?
No, Cat Hunter was a player.
Oh, man.
That's why I'm getting it mixed up.
Enough, okay.
But like, I think it's Hunter. I have her on Facebook, whatever. But like the point is, she drafted the best women's player because she knew that woman player was going to dominate. But like she went with that first, right? Woman manager, woman player. It made sense. It was, and the player was dominant, so she made her pick, right? So again, smart pick. But then everyone else had like their allegiances for something, and Brian was like, "Fuck that, I'm going to win." So he knew that the races were the best option because if you won a race, you got 7. If I remember the points correctly, 7 points for winning a race, and I think second place was 2.
Something like that. So every time you'd always have an insane gap, yeah. Whereas obviously CS could be a few rounds. 5 point gap
is a lot of points.
Yes,
that's you winning 13 to friggin' 8. Like that's 13-8 is not close. Like that's you know.
Yes. By the way, it was Kat. She was called Kat Metzen. I've just looked it up.
Metzen, there you go. Yeah. So she got So like if you got first and second.
Oh, you
had 9 points to their 1. it's like the biggest advantage.
That's
ever.
like an entire CS match 9-0 basically, right?
Yeah. So he did that, and he knew that we were a good team. So he knew that we weren't going to be a problem. So he took his licks on, I'm going to suck at FIFA.
Right.
Because in FIFA, how many goals are you going to score in FIFA?
Exactly. That's a good idea. Like, exactly.
But the funny thing is, like, so we had Andrew, who's a Counter-Strike pro as well. He was our FIFA player, and that was Brian's loyalty pick.
Right.
When Brian was making picks, that was the one who was like, I'm going to draft my friend. Right? But who's playing the game, he was trying. But like he wasn't as good as like the other players. But his job was to keep it close. That was the goal.
Right.
Keep it close, like 2-1 acceptable. So he had a good fighting game players. And the racing was the best one. And then he had us in Counter-Strike, which, you know, Counter-Strike was a flawed part of the game because with the way the format was, $10,000 per round. Well, not what you start with, 9 rounds or whatever. Like to get beat truly badly was like tough.
Yes.
You had to like really suck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you lost 13-5, woof. or sorry, 10-5. If you lost 10-5, you got your ass kicked.
Yes.
But most games was 10-7 or 10-8. You know what I mean? So it was never like, it was still fun to play in, but it was like the point system was kind of stupid where when we played, that's my second year. The first year we played Carolina in the finals, I think we lost 10-9, 10-8. Like we lost by a round. You know what I mean? But then Racing won. So it's like, it was kind of, it is what it is. The point system was kind of stupid.
Yeah.
And it always sucked that we didn't get to play first. So Counter-Strike was always like fourth, I think. Fourth, I think, if I remember correctly. So like some of the times we didn't even get to play the whole game. Like the game would just be,
if the game's over, exactly. If you get the rounds, you won the game.
Yeah. So it's like I'm practicing all this time to win 4 rounds and just be done.
No, that's why it was a silly format. Right, I have one last question about CGS. It's an obvious one.
Yeah, sure.
Everyone knows, nobody knew this thing was just going to close down in part of the way through season 2. But do you remember the day you just told basically you don't have a job anymore? Yep. Like, it's over.
I remember exactly where I was. So we knew something was wrong when the second year went to a hangar. Like we did it in the Universal Studios the first year, right?
Massive
beside
fun,
American Gladiators and all that stuff, treated like gold. And then the second year was in a hangar, like a for planes and shit that they like an hour away, like in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And where like you walk in, you're like, oh my God. But then you go through the curtains and it looks identical, right? You know, the production, right? But it was in a hangar. And when we saw that, our first thought was like, they're blowing their money too quick. Because we heard like
that is true. Yeah, they were spending way too much.
We heard things about how much Wendell was being paid.
Yep.
And we were like, dude, if he's being paid that much, we're in trouble.
Yeah, he was having like a 6-figure salary and stuff. The money being thrown around was crazy. Yeah.
I heard it was like $500K for just him.
Yeah, I've heard something along those lines. Yeah.
And like the budget was I think like $3 million or something like that. So I was like, oh, that's not good. And then when we got I don't remember if it was an email or Brian texted us, but I was in class in school. So when during the off season, I was taking classes. So I went to school and I was in my physiology class. I remember seeing the text and being like, well, that's saw that coming. And I just, I was like, all right. And then we just texted each other like, what are we doing? Like, where are we going? And that's when we decided to like disband the team and so on. But yeah, it was, our feelings weren't hurt when it broke, when it ended, right? But it was like the fun lasted for a little bit. We enjoyed it while it lasted, but when it died, we were like, all right, we're done with Source, right, guys?
Yes, yes.
We're back to 1.6, right? And everyone's like, yep, we're out.
I do have a few questions about like that latter 1.6 speed. Obviously, it wasn't amazing, but one key thing, you said it earlier, one thing you hadn't done is represent Canada at WCG. You got to go to that one that was in China when you went with Semphis and that Blight Game team. Like, look, this obviously isn't like you were going to win the event, but like you said, that's a bucket list thing for CS, right? Yeah. And to go overseas as well. A lot of your stories are just in America. I'm sure to go to China was pretty insane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like when CGS died, and I knew that like our team was like they were done, right? It was over. Then my goal shifted. I'm like, I joined EG, I checklist done, and I'm like, all right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to focus on WCG. So what I did was I picked up a bunch of unknown Canadians because I wanted to build a team. I'm like, I'm gonna pick up a bunch of unknown Canadians. I'm gonna do this. But then before that, though, I got a message from, I want to say it was Semphis, but it might have been like the leader at the time, like Alien or whatever. And they said, hey, we need a ringer for this event for WCG. And this was right when CGS was ending. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll play in it. So I go there and I play in it with this team who's like a West Coast team, underdogs. They weren't expected to win. The competition was light. The best team was No Pression, which was like a French team. And this is when, like, I told you, when CGS and when the LAN stopped in Toronto, Canada CS just went, it was plummeted. But like, the team, it was EGCA, I think they had EGCA and No Pressure, whatever. And I joined this West Coast team that like wasn't going to most likely win. It was Semphis back when he was interesting person. I think he was the in-game leader, and he named Strats after Pokemon, I think.
He was a really weird guy. Like, that was when he was really fat, if people don't know.
Oh yeah, he was a big boy. But it was like,
with a massive
he called
beard.
like things like Pikachu and Charmander, and like some maps it was like blue or red, like that was the strategies we'd had. And I just came in and my job was just kill people. And I'm like, I'll do this. I went in there, just destroyed everyone, and I got MVP. and then we won, and it was like, oh shit, I will go into WCG, right? This is great, because I never even played in the WCG qualifiers except one time when it was like in between CGS, and I played for some pug
Right.
that had no chance of winning, and like Griff had his team there. I'm like, you asshole, you know what I mean? Like his friends. I'm like, you guys do your thing. It was after EG, sorry. Like he still did his thing, whatever.
Right.
I think No Pressure won that one actually. I think the French won that one, if I remember correctly. But yeah. So we went to WCG, and it was fun because it was in China, and I got to be the flag bearer and everything because like the organizers knew who I was, and they were like, you know, I was like the veteran at this time of like 25 years old, right? But I was like, all right. And it was awesome. And then when I saw the groups, my heart broke because we had the group of death.
You had the insane one. You had the one with Fnatic. You had basically the Brazilians falling FNX there. Like, I think at this point, only 2 teams get out or something. So you just already cooked,
2 teams,
right? Yeah.
2 teams. And it was us. It was Fallen and Co. MIBR.
Yeah. Well, I think they were called Fire Gamers at this tournament, but yeah.
Yeah. And then it was Fnatic, and I want to say the other team was nuts too. I can't remember. We were blatantly
they also
like,
Chinese team like WMV or something, I think, as well.
Oh, WMV. Yeah, WMV.
There you go.
And we were just like, all right, boys.
Yeah.
You know, no, there was 6 teams to a group. I think there was 6 teams.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
if I remember correctly. One team was a bad team from like
some
I want to say like somewhere in South America that we beat. Whatever it was, we beat them up.
Right.
And then we played the other teams. I'm like, I just told the guys because like they were never playing. I'm like, guys, just enjoy this.
Right.
I'm like, you're getting to play. You know, you're getting to play the top dogs. I'm like, just enjoy it, man. And I don't remember the scores, but I remember we got just destroyed.
Smashed.
But it was a lot of fun. And then I'm like, all right, I want to do this again, but for real. So then I'm like, all right, I'm going to make a Canadian team of just like up and coming Canadian players. And my goal is to do WCG again. And that was when I made my Area 51, I think they're called.
Yep.
I called the team East Coast Offensive, first of all, because like that was the first Canadian team. Like, yeah, I like the name. It was the first team I joined. I felt like I kind of made it. So I'm like, I brought it back. I remember I asked Thrust if I could do it. He said I could. So I asked permission for it. And so I did that team, and we won WCG Canada. I got MVP in that one as well, and that was the one that was in LA, which kind of sucked. And then that's when I got the flight problem, so I didn't get to compete in that one. So even though I won 2 WCGs for Canada, I didn't get to compete in the second one. So I was very grateful that I got the first one. And then the second one, I gave it to Semphis. I asked Semphis, I'm like, Semphis, like, listen, these guys need a leader. Can you lead my team and take it over? And he did. And then Semphis did his thing and became Semphis. But I gave him I gave him my team, and then he did his own. After that, he kind of did the same thing I did. He kind of like step laddered it up and like did his own thing. But yeah, I gave him my team, and he took that over. And I don't remember how they did. Probably not well, because it was, we weren't expected to do well.
Sure.
But, you're playing the juggernauts. But yeah, that was critical for me to get at least the opportunity to, represent Canada at the event in China. I was able to do it in Chile and.
Yeah, you went to the Pan-Am games and I saw what's funny is all these tournaments, you always played Fallen's team. You always played Fallen and FNX.
Yeah, I know. Me and Fallen
like a little rivalry,
about,
right? These guys back and forth.
Yeah. I always, whenever I talked to him after I lost to him, I'm like, I beat you, right? Like individually, I'm like, okay. I got you, right? But at the first event, when I met him, the one that was in
China, wasn't it? Or do you mean
we went to one before. We went to an event before that. Yeah, the Pan-Am one, Chile. Okay. When I met him in Chile, that was when he was like, green, like this baby
still
face, like
yeah.
And I remember when I played him on a side, I talked to him like because we were like the operas, and I was like, I remember we had a conversation like. We were just talking a little bit of fun shit to each other. I remember like I beat you, man. And he's like, we won the game. I'm like, yeah, you did. And then he ended up doing his thing, and I still talk to him here and there when appropriate, but not for the last little while. But yeah, it was fun to see him do what he did. But yeah, he always ended up facing us in those WC fucking G events, and it was kind of annoying because the Brazilians were just better. They were mega. Yeah, the Canadians. Really good. Yeah, they just were like that's how it always was. Yeah, but yeah, that was. I'm just happy I got a chance to do the WCG thing. I have all the memorabilia of all that stuff. But yeah, so I got that one. And then at that point was when, there's all kinds of other things and stories in between and so on. But when I got the band part thing, I'm like, all right, I'm done.
Makes sense.
Playing. Yeah. And I gave it to Semphis. I'm like, I'm done. And then when I found out I was unbanned, I'm like, shit, what can I do? But I was like, but then I'm like, don't do it. Like, don't do it.
Sure.
You're out of it. Stop trying to live this freaking dream. You know what I mean? Where some people are just
Yeah.
hanging on for dear life, right? So then I started doing the coaching thing. I'm like, let's do that. Let's do that. But that's how it ended. Was that fucking custom agent asshole?
Right. The thing is, I actually wanted to just do this about your playing career. I thought what we'll do is maybe in the future we do another one about the coaching side and the CS:GO thing and do it. So I thought for this one
there's
we'd
so
do
many
the
stories.
Yeah.
Man.
The thing is, I actually knew from back in the day.
I got CLG. So, you know what I mean?
We'll do it. Don't worry, we'll do another one. I knew you were like a charismatic guy. I knew some of the things behind the scene, like that mad CGS story. So at the end of this interview, do you have anyone you want to thank? Do you have a final message? You want to say hello to anyone?
Well, honestly, if I just gonna say thank you to anyone, it's basically this, like, if I'm just gonna be the cheesy route, right? I'll just, like, the people that I play with coming up, right? Like, even if they happen to watch this when they're with their families and doing their own things or whatever, but like, all my teammates, right? Like, I loved all my teammates except one, which they know who they are. That, like, they all helped me. It was all fun, but like, the ones that stand out, also, like, you have Trip, who was critical for me when I would do the EG stuff. I think the different phases, right? So we had Trip with that. We had Master Nook with the pandemic era. We had obviously James with the GB era, and then Stevenson and Trip with the EG era. And then after that, it was kind of like, those are the ones that they were like the building block people to help me go on that stuff. And then, like, manager wise, like Dolvin and DKT were like very, very good for me for like treating me well and giving me some confidence and support and so on. But yeah, like, those are the ones that stand up to me, at least on the top of my head. Obviously, everyone, I loved everyone I played with. Again, like, except maybe two actually, but they all contributed to like what I was able to do. And I had a fun career. Didn't get to win any like major championships, right? But the best satisfaction I got was just knowing when I talked to the people when I got older was like them knowing that when they played me, it was a problem. I'm like, that's all I wanted. You know what I mean? Like, I knew I wasn't going to win a major when you had Fnatic and fucking these people, and I couldn't get on Complexity and 3D. Like, there wasn't a thing, right? So I'm like, I did the best we could, and and I was grateful that I got to a point where I was able to be respected by everyone as a player. I'm like, all right, I did a good job. I just didn't have any of the, trophy accolades I wish I could have. I wish I could have.
Everyone needs a support network, and mine is, of course, my Patreon community, the Scrominati, who in many ways, they're the Sonny to my Cher, saying, I got you, babe. So this video and all the others on my channel were kindly supported by the following names: Ahmed Hadju, Mac Pugnaccio Rakula, Adam Tomlin, Animosity, Jensen Go, Tosh, Toucan, and you know it. Jerky's Minion, my main man, always going to be referenced, one of the best patrons of all time. Would you like to ask a question in my AMA? Maybe you want to suggest a topic or a guest to say on my channel? Do you want teasers? Find out who the upcoming Reflections and Talk to Thorin interviews are. Maybe you want to do one of those long discussions where you get to set the topics we talk about. Well, if any of these or others appeal to you, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Scluminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.